W.W.A.S.P podcast. I'm your host, Jordan, as usual. We're about to break, I always forget this. I think it's like, we're about to break like 600 hours of view time, I think. I either have it, I'm pretty sure it's 600 hours of view time we're about to break. So keep pushing, keep sharing the videos. Share them to everybody. I don't care. Just share them to random people. Just send them a video so we can get it out there to the public. And yeah, we're almost, I think, 3,000 views or something almost. So we're doing pretty good. So yeah, thank you guys for that. I wanted to do a moment of silence for the person that's still suffering with addiction, with repressed thoughts, anything. So on the count of three, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and thank you for that. And let's see, what else was there? If anybody knows anybody that wants to be interviewed, send them my way. Really appreciate it. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day, Jenny, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went, what years.
Hi, my name is Jenny. I went to Academy at Ivy Ridge from March of 2004 until January of 2005. And at that point, I transferred out. My parents pulled me from Ivy Ridge and transferred me into Integrity House out in Utah from January of 2005 up until either July or maybe early August of 2006.
Okay.
Yeah, I know I stayed past my 18th birthday. I just can't remember how long past.
Okay. And did you get transported there, or did you go up there? Did your parents bring you up there? What happened?
So when I was sent to Ivy Ridge, it was very much a transport situation. My parents kind of tag teamed the day of to keep me distracted. Dad brought me on a very long road trip to go to a reptile show while Mom bought the necessary, the checklist that they give you of things your kid needs. So I got home. We were going to New York the next day as far as to see a Broadway show, not to get sent away. And at 2 a.m., I was woken up by, they were probably like 22, 23 years old, but two strangers in my room told me to get dressed. The usual speech, we can do this the easy way, we can do this the hard way. And I tried to stall for time, but we all know how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a 7-hour drive from where I grew up in Jersey all the way up to almost Canada for Ivy Ridge. And then, yeah. And then when I when I was sent to Integrity House, my mom accompanied me along with a transport.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know you were going here, or was it a complete surprise?
No, none of it. Well, the second facility I knew of, but the first one was a complete surprise. My therapist at the time had been, I guess, planting the seeds of if you keep acting up, you're going to get sent away to a boys' town, girls' town situation, blah, blah, blah. And I really think that he got commission from my parents sending me to where I ended up.
So did he tell your parents? So essentially, he told your parents, "Oh, I would recommend this place" or something.
Yeah, they had brochures and everything, and he was very pro-program in our sessions and in his meets with my parents.
Interesting. Okay. When you got there, walk us through your first day. Did they go over rules with you? Did they buddy you up? Just go over your first day, what you can remember.
Yeah, so my first day at Academy at Ivy Ridge was a Sunday. I remember because it was movie day. Actually, both facilities, my first day was on a Sunday. That's besides the point. I apologize. I got to Ivy Ridge. and my escorts brought me into the boys' side, which is, I guess, where the main entrance is. And there's this big fucking placard that says Academy at Ivy Ridge with this like coat of arms type thing. Like they were really proud of themselves. And I see this line of boys, 2 by 2, pivoting around the corner as they go and counting off and everything. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. And eventually I get led over to the girls' side. And I mean, I'm just trying to take it in at this point and trying to like make sense of what happened.
Yeah.
And this, I swear to God, she looked like a toad. To this day, I will describe her as a toad. Woman by the name of Miss Sis started my intake process. Explained to me that my parents didn't want a bad kid, and I was here because I was a bad kid, and they're going to turn me into a good kid. And I'm crying, because what else are you going to do? You know, I'm crying. She has me completely stripped down and jump to make sure I'm not hiding anything on me. I get dressed in gray sweats, and she brings me out to meet my buddy. And we're sitting down, and I remember at one point, I think I like wasn't comfortable or something, or like I moved in my seat, you know? And the next thing I know, I'm being restrained. I'm on the ground, and this ginormous woman has her knee in the small of my back. Because I guess, you know, twitching a little in your seat is a bad thing. So, first day at Ivy Ridge was spent learning very quickly what I could not do, which is everything. And when I got to my family, as I called them, and I asked, you know, what shouldn't I be doing? The dorm mom laughed and said, "You're better off asking what you're allowed to do."
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good times, you know?
Oh yeah, totally a blast.
Yeah.
But they didn't formally go over rules with you or anything? They kind of just like fun for yourself type thing?
Well, that's where the girl I was paired up with was supposed to teach me. So I had 3 days. They called it Hope Buddy at Ivy Ridge, where you were supposed to learn the rules and everything. And I had a similar system at Integrity House, but at Integrity House, you had to take a test to get off of what they called Peer Buddy. And at Integrity House, I begged my mom not to leave me there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because by that point, I just wanted to be home. But yeah. And I remember asking my mom, I think a year or so ago, I was like, "Why did you guys transfer me? Why don't you just bring me home?" And they didn't know. I think they were just indoctrinated at that point.
Yeah. Very, very well could be. How long after you got there until you realized that place was crazy?
5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay. And how many families were there, and how many people were on the facility that you remember when you got at Ivy Ridge?
Ivy Ridge. So when I got there, there's Valiant, Congeniality, Hope, Faith, Excellence. I think there were 5 families. And then later there was a split, and I went from Harmony into Valiant. Okay. And then another family called Serenity came up. So there were 7 families by the time I left, and I think 5 when I began.
Okay. And how many people would you guess were on the facility, like estimate? You don't have to come up with an exact number, obviously. But
no, that's fine. I know that there were about 30 girls per family, and I'm not counting, the upper level families. So add those 2 to the mix. But there were 30 girls per lower level family.
So that's about 140 girls?
Just about. And we had a dorm mom and 2 upper levels assigned to us. And study hall had a dorm mom and 1 upper level assigned. So it wasn't really a good ratio. And it makes sense because there was a riot 3 months after I left. So.
What? So there's about 140 girls, right? And then was there also boys there though?
Yeah, but I don't know. We weren't allowed to talk to them.
Yeah. Do you have any idea how many families? Was there like 7 boys families? Like, could you guess? Like, How many do you think there was on the boys' side? Obviously,
at least 5. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say at least 5. Because I'm in an Ivy Ridge survivors group. And I see the names of some of the boys' families. I just don't recognize them. But I would say at least 5.
Okay. Okay. So around the same amount of boys, probably. So that's probably around like 280 or more kids on the facility. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they had they revamped or refurbished or whatever an old community college or something. So it makes sense that it would be an equal number on both sides, just so that they could profit off of everybody.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, yeah, I like to just get those numbers because it helps with people with research and whatnot. Let's see. So what was the structure like at Academy at Ivy Ridge? Like, were there points and levels? Was there obviously there was consequences against everything? Did you get merits and demerits, or like what was the overall thing? Were there seminars, like all of that? Like how?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a seminar program. It was a W.W.A.S.P program. So it was a seminar structure. I never made it. Oh, excuse me. I never made it past level 1, and I never made it out of discovery. So there are 6 levels at Ivy Ridge. The first 3 are lower levels, and then 4, 5, and 6 are upper levels. And there were seminars that I just sucked at. I sat on level 1, mostly in study hall my entire time. And study hall wasn't like you get to study and do schoolwork. It was like every 2 hours you have a rigorous military style workout and you copy lines from textbooks in complete silence.
Yeah, I spent my first year at Spring Creek between intervention and study hall. Until they sent me with going to Jamaica, and they told me, we're not even going to tell your parents till you get there. We'll just send you there.
Yeah.
So I got scared into working my program. But now that you said that, what was the study hall like there? What did it look like? And did you spend any time in intervention?
Yes, I spent 1 day in intervention, but study hall will lead into that because it's a story. Study hall looked the most like a classroom out of anything, honestly. Like, it had normal desks. It had a chalkboard. It looked like an 8th grade classroom, honestly. Until you push the desks to the side and, sweat your ass off for 2 hours while they deny you your inhaler.
You have asthma?
Oh, yeah.
I have asthma, too.
Right? I love when they're like, oh, you can breathe because you're asking for your inhaler. It's like, that's not the point. But now, the one time I got sent to intervention, I was actually just talking about this the other day with another survivor who I'm friends with. And I have BPD, borderline personality disorder. So,
I have bipolar, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's why I specify, because they both sound so similar. And I was in the middle of a really bad downswing, and this was probably a month before I got transferred out. And I went to study hall for a neglect. It's always a fucking neglect, which means I forgot my water bottle or something. And I'm down there.
Was that a Cat 4?
No, neglect was a Cat 2 at Ivy Ridge, so 25 points.
Okay.
And I'm just like, you know what? I'm never getting out of here. I might as well give up. Like, I'm just not in a good place. And this girl comes in, and I remember her name, and I remember what she looked like, and I think I remember her family. I think she was an Excellence. And she's mouthing off, and she's giving all this attitude, right? And I'm just like, would you shut the fuck up? Like, this is the first time I've spoken up in my entire time at Ivy Ridge. And I got a check for that. A few more minutes later, she says something, and I shoot back at her. I get another check. She doesn't get anything.
And for people that don't know, what are checks?
Strikes. 3 strikes, and you get sent to intervention. My 3rd check came when she hurled a math book at my face. And I don't mean like a pre-algebra or easy math book. This thing was fucking thick. It's like a 2-inch thick book. I still have a little scar on the inside of my lip that has now become, a little twitchy thing.
Yeah.
But I got sent to intervention for instigating, I think they said. Like it was my fault that I had a book thrown at my face.
There are no accidents, according to them, so.
Based on your results, you have exactly what you intended. Yeah, because I wanted a fucking math book thrown at my face, right?
Yeah.
So I was in intervention, not for very long, probably about 6 hours. Literally just sat there, took my hair out of a braid for the first time in the program, and very much gave up. And I think my family rep had to tell my parents that I was sent to intervention. I'm not sure, but I know a month later I was at a new program.
Okay.
But it was, yeah.
What did the intervention there look like? Because for Spring Creek, it was essentially a padded room that they shut you in.
Yeah, this was an empty room that it was just empty. Like I think they just hollowed out a supply closet.
Okay, that's about right.
Because there weren't windows. And there were like program sayings and stuff on the wall. Yellow carpet. I remember yellow carpet. And one chair. I got a chair because it was my first time and I wasn't like being violent, I guess, so I earned the privilege of a chair. And then an upper level sits outside and watches you while you're in there, and if you do act up, they sit on you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's pretty similar to Spring Creek Lodge, with the restraining too. Let's see. So you said you didn't get through discovery. Do you know? Was it because you kept on getting chosen out for bullshit, or like were you actually trying to get through it? Do you really know why you didn't get through it? Did they tell you?
Yeah. I know the first time I was so invested.
Yeah.
Because it was the first time in months I could talk to people who weren't in my family.
Yeah.
And I could talk to boys.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is going to sound really pick me, but when you're 15, you just want the attention and you just want to know that, like, you're still attractive, I guess. And I mean, I'm not going to.
Validation. The validation.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to feel validated. I wanted to know that I was still worth somebody's attention. And there was a guy, and I'll admit, like, crushes developed, okay? And I was very much in the moment of being, I'm going to work this program, we're going to get out together, we're going to see each other on the outside. And when we got back to the dorms that night, we go in and we shower, and I forgot my pajamas. I had my towel, but I was in that I'm at home mindset because I've talked to people and I've been a normal teenager. So the next day I got called out in front of everybody by one of the other girls who was working her program. Not even an upper level, like some level 2 bitch who just wanted to look good. And it was very much, it turned to public shaming. And at that time, I couldn't admit why I had acted the way that I did because I wasn't self-aware enough to put the pieces together. And I remember I just sat back down because they wouldn't let up on me. And the facilitator's like, okay, you've chosen yourself out. So after that first choose out, every single time I went back, I'm like, what's the point? Because I know what's happening. I know about the red-black game. I know about, like, all the dumb shit that we're going to have to do. I'm not invested anymore. So I stopped trying.
For sure, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I'm sorry, but how long? I didn't really catch it when you said how long you were in the program at Ivy Ridge.
About 10 months.
Oh, yeah, 10 months. And did they ever threaten you with sending you? Or yeah, they did send you to another program. But did they ever threaten you with like Jamaica or anything like that? Did you ever hear anybody talk about Jamaica or high impact?
So I was a whale. My dad was a rather well-off physician, so it benefited Ivy Ridge for me to stay at Ivy Ridge.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I was never threatened with Jamaica.
Okay. Did you ever hear anybody talk about it? Like, was there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And I knew what it was, and I knew like how terrifying it was. But I think because my parents, because in their commitment letter, they said like, this is the program that you're going to stay at. I knew that I wasn't going to go anywhere else.
Okay. So they were just kind of committed to the Ivy Ridge thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. And let's see, what was the craziest thing that happened at Ivy Ridge? Or what's the craziest thing you've heard about?
At Ivy Ridge. Okay, so it's lights out. And I'm staying up a little bit past because, you know, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and I have to keep reading.
Yeah.
Those books got me through so much back then. So I'm up and I'm reading, and I think PC3 had just let out. So the level 6s, most of them had gone back home. And I hear screaming of "get the fuck off me" over and over and over again. And I'm like, what is going on? And it was a level 6 who had failed out of PC3 for one reason or another. I don't know what happened, but she was screaming. She was fighting for her life to get out of the program. And they restrained her probably like 10 or 15 feet away from my dorm. And we were all just expected to, you know, stay in our rooms and be quiet. And because if you get up, you're breaking curfew, and that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But it was weird. Because I'm like, why would a level 6 have to come back? And that's when it hit me. And when I learned about the warranty that they put on us.
Mm-hmm.
Where if your kid relapses, they can come back for free for 4 or 5 months or whatever it is. And I mean, who puts a warranty on a kid, you know?
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. It's crazy they can get away with that shit too.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went there, and then, so that happened, and then, what about runners?
At Ivy Ridge, we didn't really have a lot of runners. We had a lot of drills. So if like the alarm went off, you jumped up, got in line structure, and counted off. And if like, I was normally in study hall, so it would be like bunk 7 buddy in study hall, and you had to know where your buddy was at all time.
Okay.
We had more runners at Integrity House.
Okay. Did you ever hear about what their policy for a runner would be at Ivy Ridge? Did anybody tell you like what would have happened, like per se, if somebody had a run?
I heard that they'll break your fucking legs.
Okay. Okay. I just like to clarify that for everybody.
Yeah.
And because everybody, especially people on the outside that I try telling this story to, they're like, "Oh, what are you talking about, bro? I wouldn't have I would have ran." I was like, "Nah, bro, you don't understand, bro. Like, you wouldn't have done shit. You would have tried, and you would have got beat up like real bad, and then you would have been like, fuck, I shouldn't have done that." But people just
the thing was, especially at Ivy Ridge, we were on the border of Canada. And basically the middle of nowhere in this little upstate New York town where everyone knew what our uniform meant. And no one would help a runaway. And I think there were 2 or 3 boys who managed like a day or 2 outside the facility on a runaway. But even they were brought back.
Yeah, they'll always get you. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
I had this one person, I was on Wilderness, and this one kid ran in the middle of the night on Wilderness, and he fucking ran literally straight down a fucking mountain. He booked it on a mountain. Like, he was like wilderness, like he was savvy in the wilderness and shit. And fucking, he was one of those people that was like Bear Grylls, he like make a fire with fucking sticks and shit. So he fucking took off in the middle of the night, and I remember in the morning, they literally had us all like fucking like stay super close together, and fucking like they pretty much had us stay in one spot until that guy was found. But they like brought in helicopters and the whole fucking bit, dude. They found him in like 2 towns over. He made it like 2 towns over, but the shit was great.
I remember at Integrity House, he had a runner. We all got brought into the media room, the movie room, I don't know, just the big room where everything was held. And you couldn't fall back asleep. Like, you had to stay awake until they found whoever ran. And these 2 girls had come in at the same time and decided to run away at the same time. And before that, at Integrity House, level 1s could wear their own clothing.
Oh, wow.
It was a fucking privilege. Well, after that, level 1s wore bright neon color, pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a hell of a privilege. Holy shit. Because usually they tell you, like, you're in your image. You're trying to be a gangster or whatever the fuck it was.
Well, the clothing wasn't image. The clothing was like clearance rack at Walmart. Like, we were allowed to wear jeans and t-shirts, but the t-shirts had to be tucked in.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you couldn't just wear like a fucking band t-shirt or something like that.
No, I remember after my home visit, I had bought a Rolling Stones t-shirt, but it was yellow, so I'm like, this isn't my image. I can get away with this. It's yellow, and I got in so much fucking trouble.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's hella dumb. So let's see. Okay, so let's talk about, or hold on.
Yeah.
Before we go there, how long after you got there did you get your first phone call at Ivy Ridge? How long did they make you wait to get your first phone call? Or did they give you one?
I never got a phone call at Ivy Ridge.
Never got a phone call. Okay. Okay. Interesting. And on the upper levels, was there a vote up process? Was there all of that?
I don't know. I never made it past level 1 at Ivy Ridge. At Integrity House, though, they had treatment team where you could go up for a level and you had to, there was a vote up process where like you had people sign in and yes, I think you deserve it. No, I don't think you do. I refused to go up in the levels, so they kind of pushed me up through the levels. Because honestly,
Go ahead.
Because by the time I had gotten to Integrity House and realized that I wasn't going home, I just kind of said, well, I might as well, like, if you push me up, you push me up, but I'm not going to go home, so I'm going to just be comfortable here. So they pushed me up to level 2. Level 3, I went up for on my own on a dare from my roommate. Didn't get it. And then I got pushed up to level 3 right before Christmas because my aunt had sent me the very first iPod that played like songs and videos.
Oh my
God. And someone fucking stole it.
Wait, you were allowed to have that?
No, a staff member stole it.
Wow, dude. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my parents sent me a Hello Kitty CD player, which was fine. And I had like 4 CDs that I listened to. And they were all very PG.
Yeah.
I did manage to sneak in my AFI Sing the Sorrow, though, because it was burned and it didn't have the title on it.
Hell yeah, there you go.
That was my sanctuary. That album got me through the worst times in my life.
Hell yeah, music's awesome. Music's fucking amazing. The closest we got to that at Spring Creek was we would write lyrics in our fucking journals, and I'd like start the lyrics to a song and do what I could remember, and then bring it over to my friend's bunk and be like, hey, do you remember the next verse? And then we'd write it down. Or like on Sundays when we did the deep cleaning, sometimes if the family father wasn't a dick, then he would like let us fucking play CDs. Like he'd put on CDs in his back room and like let us listen to it while we were like cleaning and shit. That's all we got at Spring Creek. But
I remember during the holidays at Integrity House, and I'm going to say this right now, Integrity House at face value was the lesser of two evils, but do some research on Daniel Taylor and you're going to see a lot of really fucked up shit. And if you look up the podcast Sent Away, you're going to see a lot of fucked up shit that Daniel Taylor did. But we were allowed to listen to Christmas music. We were like the whole facility. And I say facility, it was a house. We were allowed to do that. We had equine therapy. We were allowed outside. We were allowed to talk to each other. After something like Ivy Ridge, after a WASP facility, it was at face value a lot better.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go into your transfer to Integrity House. What happened there? Did they tell you were being transported? How did that happen? How did you get there? All of that stuff.
So I got called from lunch at Ivy Ridge by an upper level. And you know how normally you need a third when you walk anywhere as like a witness?
Yeah.
So I didn't need a third. She's just like, we come with me. We have to. And I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, don't worry about it. And don't talk in the hall. Okay, fine. Fuck you, bitch. I'm not going to talk in the hall. But like, where are we going? So she leads me into a room on the boys' side. And my mom and my dad and my little sister are sitting there. And I fucking just, like, I'm going to cry just thinking back on it because I saw my parents for the first time in 10 months. And I jumped into their arms and I was so happy to see them. And then my first thought was, who died? And I asked, because normally you don't get to see your parents on lower levels unless someone died.
Yeah.
Everyone's fine. We are getting you out of this program. We're transporting. We're going to go to another one in Utah. I think I actually thought I was going to Cross Creek. I thought I was staying within the WASP structure.
Yeah.
So we spend a night in a hotel by the airport. And the next day we part ways. Mom and I meet the woman who was in, I don't know if we're allowed to say names on this or not.
Oh yeah, you can if you want to.
Okay, so we met Julie, who was also the director of Integrity House. She was like 25 years old. And she came with us as a transport from the Newark airport. We flew into Vegas and then we drove to Cedar City. Southern Utah. So Cedar City, Utah is right by like the Shakespeare Festival out that way, which is why my parents chose that facility because they know how much I love Shakespeare. They tried.
Yeah, they.
And I fell asleep in the back of the car on the way to, I think it was the hotel where Mom and I were going to stay, but she was talking to Julie the whole ride there. And you know, like when your CD cuts out, so you wake up, but like you don't show that you've woken up. And I heard them talking about what the program's going to be like. And Julie's like, we're going to have to deprogram her from everything she's learned at Ivy Ridge so that she can be reprogrammed at our facility. And she's like explaining this to my mom like it's a user manual. And we get to Integrity House the next day. And I meet my peer buddy. And first thing I'm told is I can't sit on the couches because I'm a level 1. So I sat on the floor, begged my mom not to leave me here. She had to, and there were tears and she left and everything. And I remember thinking at first that Integrity House was so much better up front. And it took about 3 or 4 months for that to be shattered. But, for a little bit, I was like, okay, this is going to be fine.
Okay. And
yeah.
This facility, is it, it's not under the WASP, so what, do you know who's the overarching, like, who controls those schools?
Daniel Taylor owns Integrity House. hang on, let me check. So Daniel Taylor and his whole family, Utah. Oh, if you search Daniel Taylor Integrity House, it pops up. Oh my God, I haven't seen his face in like a minute. That's gross. So there was our house in Cedar City, and then our house had a side house, and then a house down the street. That was all part of the main facility, I guess. And then they opened up one in Beaver, Utah, and I think one in St. George. And I think there was a boys' school as well, because my neighbor went to the boys' school, and that's how my mom found out about Integrity House.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that there's a boys program too.
Yeah, but it wasn't WASP. Daniel had worked at WASP facilities in the past and had definitely gleaned some knowledge from that. A common thread in both of my programs is that they are Mormon run. And they very much subscribe to the bite model.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he just like used to work at WASP and then left WASP and then had his own ideas about how he could make it better or,
Mm-hmm.
more safe environment. However he justified it in his head, he's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to take, it's almost like making a cult. It's almost like, it's exactly like how people make cults. They take one religion and then they say, oh, I have ideas about this religion and I think I can make it better. So I'm going to make it, that's how cults are made pretty much. Like,
Yeah.
So,
because I remember he said something and I was like, that sounds a lot like what I heard in the seminars. And he's like, no, those seminars are bullshit. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy just cursed in front of me. He's like, what we do here, we don't do seminars. But you literally use the same verbiage. But he acted like he was too cool for the seminars. I guess to try and win over our trust or something. I don't know.
Well, that's gaslighting right there.
Yeah.
I'm not raping you while he's raping you. You're, like, not to that extent, but like that, what gaslighting
Oh, it was
is.
a mind fuck, yeah.
He's essentially saying like, oh, it's not a seminar. Well, he's saying the same verbiage from the seminar. So it's like, it's not a seminar, but you're using the same verbiage.
Yeah.
So, yep, lots of gaslighting. Okay. Are these places still open? Is Integrity House still open? Do you know?
Integrity House is still open, which is a fucking shame, really, because the amount of free labor we did for them. We helped build one of his houses.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. It's crazy.
Helped build one of his houses, took care of his kids, did his laundry, cleaned out an entire, resort for a family reunion or something. I mean, fucking did an overhaul on this place. I don't know how they're still in business, but Integrity House is very much alive and well.
Did you feel like he was grooming you, with all of that, watching his kids and stuff? Because that to me sounds like hella grooming.
Yeah, and he would give us these special treats of taking us out to do things. He took the entire facility, there were 30 girls, took us all sledding in the winter, took us to help build his house, but treated it like such a privilege because we were outside.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, you should be grateful for what I'm giving you energy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, since you were at both a WASP program and a non-WASP program, what are the similarities and the biggest similarities and differences that you saw between the two programs?
I think the biggest similarity between really any program, but specifically the two that I went to, was just shame. You are here because you are not healthy, you are not a working individual, whatever the verbiage is. It was that you need to feel shame because of who you were. And through that, you need to limit yourself and you need to kill that part of who you were. For me specifically, a lot of my creativity I'd like to still think I'm a writer. I'm not nearly as creative as I used to be. A lot of that was stifled, was shamed, was really just put through hell. Just they, like on the old TVs, how you have the dials, you can turn down the saturation and all that. It's like they turned everything down until it was just grayscale.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
describe it.
Yeah, and that way, anytime they did give you a little bit of something good, be it a candy bar, you get to accompany them to Walmart, whatever it is, it was enough to give you all that color back. So you were like, what can I do next for that little bit of praise?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest difference is, we could talk to each other at Integrity House. We could interact on a much more human level. Like, we were allowed to talk in our rooms. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
We were allowed to talk in our rooms. We were allowed to, have conversations with the staff. We were allowed to have our own handwriting in our rooms. Like, I didn't have to ask for a pen. I didn't have to ask for my journal. I was just allowed to keep that stuff. Now, granted, they read our journals because, program. But the fact that I was allowed to have my own handwriting on me at Integrity House was such a mind fuck for me, because, you could have run plans on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And at Integrity House, you said you did a lot of free labor. Did they ever tell you that you were going to get money when you got out? Did they ever say anything like that? Or I doubt it, but I figured I'd ask.
No, we were just lucky to be considered for these things, and it was a privilege to help to help Daniel and his family with X, Y, and Z, and it was so stupid. But we ate it up.
Yeah. Yep. That's how the brainwashing works. So how was the food? I forgot to ask you about how was the food at Ivy Ridge and how was the food at Integrity House? Was there anything good? Was it all horrible? How was the food?
So I had a dish that I loved at Ivy Ridge, and I think it was one Thursday a month. I think it was every final Thursday. I don't know. I guarantee one of the other girls could tell you. Chef Chester's oatmeal was to die for. It was so good, and just the layers of brown sugar mixed in with it, and the way that it all melted together. Like, it didn't matter if you were in study hall or with your family or whatever, because he got you that little pocket in there, and it was so decadent. Was
it just like regular oatmeal with brown sugar in it? What was?
No, this was homemade. This wasn't some instant shit. This was homemade, boiled. At least that's how it tasted at the time. For all I know, it could have been an instant packet. Yeah. But he made it with such care, and you could taste that. At Integrity House, on the same token, if I ever see Malta-Meal again, I swear to God, I'm going to burn the whole fucking place to the ground.
Yeah,
I hate Malta-Meal. It's a texture thing, so I can do oatmeal. I can't do cream of wheat. I can't do Malta-Meal.
Ooh, I love cream of wheat.
See, my sister's like that. She loves cream of wheat. I can't do it. I'm an oatmeal girl. So
I love oatmeal too, but
you had to eat at least 50% of your food at Integrity House, and I couldn't keep it down because the texture. It was a bad texture, the ADHD part of my brain was like, this is bad. We can't have this. It's instant. No. Yeah. So I got what do they call them over there? It was a Cat D. So rather than numbers, they were letters. Cat D self-inflict, because I couldn't keep it down.
Wow.
Yeah.
You said ADHD, so I was going to ask, did they load you up with drugs when you were there at either facility?
No.
Did they try no psychological?
They denied me all my medications.
Okay, so they didn't allow you to have them. Okay, interesting. Some places I've noticed that they just don't allow you to have anything, and other places like Spring Creek, they fucking loaded me up with medication. And I mean,
No, actually, in my intake paperwork, because I finally got it back like a year or so ago, the note says that I am on a truckload of medications. I was on like 4 things. I was on Paxil, I had a birth control, I had my asthma medication, and I had I think like an Allegra or something. Like very basic. That's not a truckload. Took them all away from me. The only reason that I was allowed my rescue inhaler was because my mom like fought them on it.
well, at least you got that. Did you notice the difference from being off the medication? Did it make a huge difference in your mood and stuff?
Yeah, I had just started Paxil like probably 6 months before I was sent to Ivy Ridge. And I was starting to feel like myself again when I was on it. And they took it away, and about a month after it was finally out of my system, my downswing started up again, and I started feeling hopeless and just very like scorch the earth mentality took over.
I feel you. Do you recall any of the staff ever making any inappropriate gestures or anything towards the students or hitting them? Anything like that?
Yeah. I got restrained a handful of times for having asthma attacks.
Wow.
So that was always fun. Oh my God, so much. Like, I think you just got used to seeing people getting taken down in the hallways. Like, it was just another Tuesday, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, after a while, you don't really bat an eye at it.
Yeah. It's getting you used to it. Desensitizing people. People, which is another form of brainwashing.
Oh, 100%. And it's the point where, because I remember when I first got to Ivy Ridge and my first restraint, I was like, what did I do? I don't understand. Versus like towards the end, I was like, oh, well, you know, so-and-so's at it again. I guess they deserved it. And it's like, no, what child deserves that?
Yeah, it's not effective. I was watching a documentary on what's that prison called? Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah.
They were talking about the torture methods used there, and they were talking about something called white torture, which is essentially everything under the sun except hitting people and getting physical with them. So like depriving them of fucking like their sight, like not letting them see anything, making them wear like noise
canceling.
Yeah, and doing all of that stuff. And I noticed like they did a lot of that shit to us at Spring Creek, like the sensory deprivation, especially in intervention. And these are people at Guantanamo Bay that are some of the worst people in the world. They're convicted of like, you know, most of them are being interrogated for who knows what. And they were doing that to them, and then they were talking about how that's still not moral, but yet they're doing it to teenagers who are fucking innocent for the most part.
But, you know, we were asked there for it because we rebelled. We were troubled teens.
Yeah.
God, it's the biggest lie.
It's messed up. But yeah, it's crazy, the similarities. And it's even gotten into rehab. I went to rehab recently, and they tried to have me do the lifeboat process. So some of the processes from the seminars have made it into fucking like drug rehab centers now.
No. Ugh.
So they're pulling that same shit, which is, it's crazy to me. It's crazy. So, how long were you at Integrity House?
Oh my God. Okay, so January of 2005, I turned 17 and 18 there. About a year and a half.
Okay. And was there, I forgot to ask this, but was there schooling in either of these places? Like, did you do school most of the day, or was it mainly like workouts, like rigorous workouts?
So at Ivy Ridge, if you were a good kid and stayed out of study hall, you could do a program called Switched On Schoolhouse, which is a Christian faith-based school program, which was not accredited, by the way.
Oh yeah, of course.
I never got out of study hall long enough to do school there. At Integrity House, we had basically a homeschool setup. We had textbooks. So I did 4 years worth of high school in a year and a half.
Was it teach yourself essentially, and then you take tests on each chapter? That's how they did it at Spring Creek too.
Yeah, they had a teacher. They had someone licensed to teach supervising, and they had a principal. I use air quotes because I don't know shit. They had accreditations. I have a high school diploma somewhere.
And you didn't have any problem getting your credits from the school and getting your credit?
No, well, I mean, I'm not good at math,
Yeah.
but the thing is, towards the end of my schooling there, in 2006, they got a new teacher. Because the previous teacher had just taken a better job working, I think, in like the special ed department. So she moved on to a real school. So our new teacher was a washed up gym teacher who didn't know the first thing about teaching girls, let alone 30 of us. And he just wanted to give us all A's on everything. And I should have let him. Because I'm like, I didn't get an A in math. You need to give me a B there. So I graduated with a 3.8.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, at least there's that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Also, if I'm talking too much, you can just like yell at me to shut up. It's totally fine.
No, you're totally fine. You're totally fine. I'm thinking for a sec. You said that you had equine therapy. Fuck, how do you say it?
Yeah, equine therapy. I had horse therapy. Yeah.
Okay, so you had horses there? That's fucking awesome.
I'm allergic to horses.
You are?
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm also allergic to cats. Let me tell you how that's working for me.
Yeah.
And that's where, yeah, so Integrity House did offer horse therapy. You would go with a group of like 8 other girls, because there were 3 horses, so it was 9 per class. And it was good. You got to leave property and go to like an actual like ranch-ish thing. I don't know. I don't speak rural very well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun at first. And then the asthma started getting worse because I was around horses more and more, and my steroid wasn't cutting it. And I was abusing the rescue inhaler, like to the point where my heart was racing too much.
Yeah.
So I had to beg them to opt me out of equine therapy.
Okay.
But I mean, the other girls liked it.
Was that like their former wilderness, or was there a wilderness program attached to either of these schools?
You could get sent to wilderness from Utah, from Integrity House. But again, my parents were whales and they wanted their money, so.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What was the craziest thing you saw or heard about at Integrity House?
God, there was a lot of weird shit. Let me think.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I feel like, and again, I think with Integrity House, a lot of it is hindsight. Just feeling privileged to go do manual labor for somebody. But I think something that stood out to me and will always kind of leave me feeling a little jarred, if you will. Integrity House had pregnant girls in their program. And that's fine. I knew the teen pregnancy was a thing. I'm adopted.
So am I.
So a lot of us are.
Yeah.
the first girl that I knew there who was pregnant was giving up her kid for adoption. And I remember after she had the baby and she came back to the facility, the staff were just treating her like nothing had happened. Like, they were just so focused on, like, okay, what are you going to do next in your program? How are you going to work your program? And nobody gave her, like, the time to grieve, at least that I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, probably not. They probably wouldn't give her time to grieve. It's a confrontational type thing. Let's see. You said that we kind of talked about the runners at Integrity House too. So let's see. Did they have like anything like special events that went on during the summer? Because I know at like Spring Creek they had this thing called Spirit Month that they did, which is like a whole month of like we'd have two teams competing against each other in different events. It was like a mini Olympics type thing. But did you have anything special like that?
I know we didn't have anything special like that at. No, oh my God, I think we had something at both programs. Because I remember eating hot dogs outside at Ivy Ridge and thinking that was like the best shit ever. Which is so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
At Integrity House, I think because they wanted it to feel more like a home and less like a program, we did a lot of like normal things. Like they let us play with sparklers on the 4th of July.
Okay.
You know, they let us watch the fireworks outside. We would have like volleyball games in the backyard. We had events where the parents would come out and just like be with us. And I'm saying all these good things about the times I had at Integrity House, but I really need people to know that what we were so excited about is things that every child should just have.
Yeah.
And we saw them as a privilege because they had been denied to us for so long. Like, I shouldn't have been excited to play with the sparklers on the 4th of July or to, you know, go for a walk in the park for gym that day.
Yeah.
Those are just things that a kid should be, you know, allowed to do.
Yeah.
But to us, it was like God's gift.
Yeah. Completely understand. It's good that you made that distinction. I should have asked this earlier, but what, and you don't have to go into this if you don't want to, but what were you doing before you got sent to the program that got you sent there? Like, what was the final straw? Do you know what the final straw was? Like, what was it?
Well, I wear this like a badge of honor. Are you ready for the shit that didn't get... Okay, so I got expelled from high school 6 months into my freshman year.
Okay.
What did not get me expelled was smoking on school property, ditching classes, smoking marijuana on school property, arson. None of that got me expelled. What got me expelled, what was the final straw? I cursed off my guidance counselor's secretary mid, like, emotional breakdown.
Really?
Yep, and because I got expelled, my parents said, we can't do this. We need someone who can handle her better than us. And I got sent away.
Wow. That's interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, because like I saw my guidance counselor in her office eating her lunch, and I'm like talking to her secretary, and I'm like, I need to speak to this woman. Like, and the secretary's like, well, you need to wait. You need to. I'm like, fuck you. I need to wait. Like, I'm having a goddamn breakdown. Stormed out. My principal finds me later and goes, we're gonna ask you not to come back to school.
That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Damn. That's crazy.
So, like, in hindsight, I should have known that that's why I got sent away. And I think I knew in the back of my head, but I didn't think that my parents would do it.
For sure. I can relate.
And it's funny, because my dad, leading up to this, I've been like, hey, Jenny, we should invent a code. So if you say this, I know that it really means that. And I didn't realize he was prepping me for this shit. I didn't take him seriously. I should have come up with a code because there were a lot of things that I wish I could have told him, like they're, abusing us.
So he was trying to make a code with you before you got sent there, type thing?
Yeah, he had been talking, I think, for like 4 or 5 months prior about like, we need to come up with our own secret language and we need to come up with our own code, So if you ask, how are the parrots doing? Because I had parrots at home. I know that actually means insert whatever it might mean here. And I thought that he was just trying to be a cool dad. So I didn't put the pieces together.
Did he not want you to go there? Was it more of your mom's thing?
My dad and I led, and to some extent still lead, a rather codependent relationship. As I've gotten older, it's become healthier with age. But he did not want to send me away.
Okay.
And I don't think my mom wanted to either. I think that they were just sold on a lie.
Okay.
But mom pulled the trigger.
Okay, yeah, that's very similar to what happened with me. My mom essentially didn't tell my dad, well, she might have told him flat out. She either told him flat out that she was going to divorce him if he didn't go along with this, or she hinted at that, or my dad felt that was going to happen because my dad did not want me to go there. Like he told me, he's told me, he's in his 70s now and he tells me this all the time. He's like, I didn't want you to go there. That was your mom's thing. And so, it's very similar to what happened in my situation. My dad did not want me to go. He says that leaving me there was the hardest moment of his entire life. Was leaving
and
me
I think that's how my dad felt at first. But and my parents are also in their 70s. They adopted rather late in life. But he's very much like, well, if you hadn't gone to the program, you might be dead by now, or you might be this, or you might be that. He doesn't flat out say that the program saved my life, but there is that subtext. And I think he says it to comfort himself more than he does to reassure me.
Yeah, or it might be a combination of both.
Yeah, I just don't. He has a hard time admitting when he's wrong. Whereas my mom was very. You remember when the Paris Hilton documentary came out?
Yeah.
We watched it together, my mom and I. And she's met with other survivors from Ivy Ridge. And she's been open and supportive and has really been like my biggest cheerleader through this whole thing.
That's cool that you have somebody on your side like that. Yeah, it's reversed. It's reversed for my family. My mom is like the one that's like not in denial, but she just doesn't understand what happened to me there. Like she says, "Oh yeah, well it was, you learned a lot of stuff from it." I'm like, "Yeah, mom, but I was really traumatized," and she just doesn't like. I tell her what actually happened, and she's like, "Oh, it really wasn't that bad." And like, so my mom's like that, and then my dad's more open and wants to know like, how did it really affect you? Was it horrible? Like.
Yeah, like when I talk about the fact that for 6 months of my 10 months at Integrity House, I slept in a brightly lit hallway. And, my dad goes, "Oh, well, it could have been worse. You could have, not had a mattress." Dad, I slept in a hallway. Find the worst.
Yeah, for real. Well, I do want to ask you about your parents then. When you got out, or how is the relationship with your parents nowadays? Have you talked to them? Have you forgiven them? Do you feel like they actually understand as much as they possibly could what happened to you there? Or do you feel like I just described, my mom I told her and she hears it, but she doesn't really get it. Like, how is it with your parents?
Now that I'm in my 30s, I have a much healthier relationship with my parents. When I first got out, I relapsed hard and did a lot of stuff I'm not proud of. In the last 2 years, I would say, my relationship with my parents, specifically regarding my time in the facility, has drastically improved. My mom saved everything, every piece of paper, every letter, and the thing is, I tried to throw a lot of those out when I got home. She saved them all. And because she saved them all, she's encouraging me to organize everything chronologically. So with mom, honestly, it's really good. It's healthy. My dad, again, doesn't like to admit that he was wrong. He loves me and he's grateful that I'm home. Well, you know what I mean, but
yeah.
But I think it's a matter of pride for him. And I think there are some things that might not ever be said, but there's an understanding of not so much remorse, but like regret over what he views had to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's completely understandable. Do you hold any animosity towards either of them for sending you there? Are you mad at him for it? Okay.
I was furious. Okay, actually, let me. It's complicated.
Okay.
When I first got out, I was furious with them. And then I got into my first marriage. And he put hands on me and I divorced him. And I fell back into the program thinking. And at that point, I was like, I'm so glad that you guys sent me there because now I have all these tools and blah, blah, blah. No, the fuck I didn't. And now that I'm like awake, I think is the term that we're using. It's a complete 180. You know, I don't resent them. I feel bad for them because you got to think when it comes to parents who are unable to have a biological child and they are given the opportunity to raise somebody else's child as their own. And in this case, they raised me from the time I was 3 weeks old. They wanted nothing but the best for me. So when they saw me falling into these unhealthy habits and patterns and such, and they were told that this place could save me, and they jumped at it because they wanted to save their kid. And they wanted so badly to, they put 100% into the seminars. They worked their program because they thought if they did that I would be happier. And I feel so bad for them for how much energy and money and time they put into what eventually turned out to be a Ponzi scheme. You know?
Yeah, it's it's really messed up. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. I'm actually gonna have my mom on my podcast eventually, and we're actually gonna talk about this shit. And because she wants to come on the podcast, and I told her, hey, you can come on the podcast, but I'm gonna tell you right now that your opinions are probably not gonna be received well by a lot of the survivors. And she's okay with that, but I'm gonna have her on just because I feel like it's important to get both sides. You know what I mean? For people to see that, like, not everybody feels the same way, and that it's also okay to agree to disagree. Like, we don't have to, like, pull each other over to the other side of thinking all the time. I think that's really important for people to understand. But I also think it'll be a good interview just because, you know, it's my mom. That's crazy. I have a lot of questions that I haven't asked her that I'm going to ask her on camera. So.
Oh, definitely. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that'll be. I've been kind of putting it off because, like, I kind of don't want that confrontation, but it's not really going to be confrontation, but in a way it is going to be confrontation. So I'm kind of excited for that. After you got out, let's go into reintegrating into society. How was it hard for you to, like, relate to people? I know for me, I was waiting for their shoe to drop. You know, don't know how to even chime into a conversation for years after I got out. I got straight into hard drugs when I got out. What happened to you when you got out of the program? And how did you...
I got out.
Integrating? Yeah.
I got out. So I had signed a variance to stay in past my 18th birthday.
Okay.
And for one reason or another, that variance fell through. I think it's because my parents didn't want to pay anymore. And I'm grateful for that. So I got out in time for my sister's Sweet 16. And I tried to fall back in with my old friends. And it didn't click. Like, so I enrolled in community college. Made some friends there. And immediately, as soon as I had all that freedom, I didn't go to classes. I fucked off and hung out in the student lounge and fell right back into my old ways because that was comfortable. That's what I knew. That's where I had the most control. Started dating a really abusive guy. Married a very abusive guy. I have a history of abuse in my past. You know, it's a thing. But I relapsed hard, and I hurt my mom. Like, not just emotionally, like, I physically hurt that woman. And we've cried over it, and I've apologized every which way to Sunday. Like, I'm 34 and I was 18 when this happened.
Yeah.
And she's long since forgiven me. But I haven't, you know? Like, I think I'll always hold that against myself. And that was my lowest point. And, you know, I didn't bruise her. I didn't leave any lasting damage. It was an elbow, you know, but it was still something that I shouldn't have done. And that was lower than I was before I was in the facility, before I got sent away.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I met my husband now, I was 21, 22 when I met him, that I really started to live my life in a positive manner.
That's good. And so, so you're doing good now?
Yeah. I have a house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got cats. Got a job.
It's cool.
Yeah, I've got my partners.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, if you could go back in a time machine knowing what you know now and not go through either of those things or not go through one or the other, would you do it?
I don't know. Because to go back in time and to undo all of that, I might not have my husband. I might not have this home. I might not have my best friends and my niece, you know? I think if I could have a time machine and go back, I wouldn't not go through what I did, but I would show her what is waiting for her on the other side.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And is it your belief, knowing what you know now, that these schools could or even, okay, I always mess this up, so bear with me, should or even could be regulated at this point, or do you think that they should just all be shut down?
They should be shut down. Sending your child away to a school is a very outdated concept, and I do not think it yields enough positive results to still be deemed viable. If we want to rehabilitate today's youth, I feel really old saying that, we need to look at other avenues. I don't think there's anything positive to be gained from uprooting a child from their home. I think these programs need to be completely abolished.
Okay. Okay. Was there anything you took positive from the program? And if there isn't, then that's fine. I like to ask people.
Anything positive? I'm stubborn as fuck. I think, if anything, my willpower grew tenfold.
Okay.
I got really good. Oh God, this is gonna make me sound like such a terrible person. I got really good at looking unassuming and making myself very small. And I've used that to my advantage multiple times, whether it's to survive an abusive ex, to not get noticed at work, whatever. It's a survival mechanism that has served me well.
Okay. What do you mean by making yourself small?
It's both a physical shrinking, but it's also a mentality of if I'm just quiet and I keep to myself, no one's going to notice me or call on me or say anything to me.
Okay. Okay, so that can also work both ways. Yeah, I can see. I can see how that would work both ways. Okay. Is there anything else you want people to know about your experience? Anything you want to tell parents that are thinking about sending their kids to a program like this? Anything at all?
To parents?
Or just any last thoughts?
No, I I think my focus would be to parents right now. It's never so bad that you can't work through it together. You know, at the end of the day, a kid needs to be loved and shown support and understanding, and they want you to hear them. And to that, I think I would tell, kids, just, you don't need to act tough. You don't need to act like everything is okay. Your parents know something is up, so you might as well tell them so you guys can get through it together. Because I don't want anyone to have to go through what we did.
For sure. And I had forgotten to ask this question, sorry. Was there anybody that you heard of or knew that killed themselves in the program or attempted it?
No, I got to both programs after said events. But a girl in Integrity House had died in a cave, I think like 6 months before I got there.
Did she run? I wonder if she ran and she got in.
No, she had a heart attack. She had a fucking heart attack and died when they were on this expedition type thing.
Oh, wilderness?
No, this was just, they were on a nature walk or something. I told my dad about it, and he's like, if we knew someone had died there, we would not have sent you.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, would you be open to doing a part 2 sometime in the future? If nothing else, I just want to check up on people and just see how they're doing in their life and just do a little checkup session. And or if there's also if you remember anything else that you want to talk about, just write it down or whatnot.
Yeah, I have my old reflections. I have my choose out essays. I have a lot of stuff. So yeah, I'd be happy to come on again and share some of that.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really, it was really interesting hearing your story, and thank you so much for coming on. And I'm glad we finally were able to do this.
Yes, life finds a way.
For sure. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye.